Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of basketball inside the NBA world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on which players I do believe will be traded, that could be traded at some particular point this NBA season. So I have 4 players on my list. These are the players I do believe could be traded at some particular point during this up-and-coming NBA season. So player number 1 on my list is Trae Young. Trae Young, star player for the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I do believe that Trae Young should be traded away from the Atlanta Hawks. He deserves better. He should not be a part of a rebuild in the prime of his career right now with the Atlanta Hawks, because this roster is not good enough to hang around in the Eastern Conference with the likes of the Boston Celtics, with the likes of the New York Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Miami Heat, Cavaliers, etc. But Trae Young is still in the prime of his career. He could be traded to a contending team because he's still an incredible passer, a crafty playmaker, a shooter in the league. And the Hawks don't have anything to work with, really, for him to work with. They just traded Dejounte Murray during the summer. They really could have used this first overall pick that they just had this previous summer in the NBA draft to get some players to Atlanta to help out Trae Young, because let's be honest, this 2024 NBA draft class was one of the worst draft classes that we've seen in recent memory in the NBA. So I don't understand why the Hawks are keeping Trae Young around. I really feel like it's best for him to be traded to a contending team while he's still in the prime of his career. You don't want to end up like a Kemba Walker. Your prime years being wasted with a team that's not a contending team. You don't want to be possibly a Damian Lillard sticking it into a city for way too long before it's too late. So I think it's best that the Hawks do Trae Young a solid favor and trade him to a contending team at some point during this NBA season, because they're definitely in rebuild mode. Now, next player on my list is honestly going to break my heart, but it's Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. Now, me personally, I love Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is one of my favorite players in the NBA. He just has that grit, that determination to go out there and win your ball games and give you everything he's got. But I think the Miami Heat really could trade Jimmy Butler this NBA season, because the team is already hesitant to give him a new deal, a new contract. He is 35 years of age, and if the Miami Heat start off slow and they're at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, I wouldn't be surprised they pull the trigger and trade away Jimmy Butler. But as much as I love Jimmy Butler, man, as a Miami Heat fan, that stinks, because Jimmy Butler is everything you want in an NBA player. He does everything that a champion does. Is he the best regular season player? No, but legends and icons and Hall of Fame careers are created in the postseason. Jimmy Butler has been the best postseason player that the Miami Heat has seen since LeBron James and Dwayne Wade won titles a decade ago. And you mean to tell me that Pat Riley, that's been around the block for a long time in the NBA, knows his stuff, doesn't want to get Jimmy Butler some help in Miami? I mean, you had some chance to get him help time in and time out. He's got you to 2 NBA finals at this point. He needs another star for him and Bam to win a title in Miami. You had the chance to get Damian Lillard last year. You played hooky, and then you saw the Milwaukee Bucks got their hands on him. 2 summers ago, they could have really got the opportunity to get Kevin Durant, and I think they could have got him without giving up Bam Adebayo, but you're too scared to trade away Tyler Hero and company. Then this summer, you didn't do any moves to get Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo some help in Miami once again. So with Jimmy being 35 years of age, if the Miami Heat start off at the bottom of the standings, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade away Jimmy Butler to get some trade capital. Hate to say it, but it's the truth. Now, next player on my list is Brandon Ingram. Now, Brandon Ingram, I'm surprised he's still with this New Orleans Pelicans team. Now, last year, Brandon Ingram did have his worst year with the Pelicans since joining the team, only averaged 20 points per game. He still has 1 year left on his contract. I mean, the state of the Pelicans, I've already said it time in and time out on this podcast, I just don't think there will ever be a championship contending team, because you built the team around Zion Williamson, your first overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft, and realistically, he's been a bust because he hasn't been healthy, hasn't been on the court when you needed him most in the playoffs, and weight and other problems have been a problem for Zion Williamson. But they got bounced in the first round by OKC. The trio of Zion, Brandon Ingram, and CJ McCollum, they haven't done anything together because the health of Zion. CJ McCollum is not the same player that he once was with the Portland Trailblazers when him and Damian Lillard were playing together in the backcourt. I just think it's time. I think the Pelicans should just blow this up and possibly begin to rebuild. But they got so many young pieces, but what can you really do if your star player is Zion is always hurt? Your next best player in Brandon Ingram he's not a star to carry a team. I think it's best that the Pelicans trade away Brandon Ingram to get some trade capital before it's too late, because you could lose him during the summer of next year during NBA free agency. I think Brandon Ingram could be traded away to a contending team, be a cornerstone player, a wing player for a contending team to put up some great offensive points to help a contending team go after a championship. So I think Brandon Ingram should be traded as well. Now, last but not least, Zach LaVine. What the hell are the Chicago Bulls waiting for at this point? Why is Zach LaVine still a part of this roster? If you want to hold on to him to the thought, I should say, of possibly winning a title with him, okay, be my guest. But you've been wasting a lot of time and a lot of Chicago Bulls fans' time over the last few years, because you finally traded away DeMar DeRozan during the summer to the Sacramento Kings. But I'm not sure why you're holding on to Zach LaVine for dear life. I would have traded him a long time ago if I was a part of that front office with the Chicago Bulls, because this team is not good enough. Just like the Atlanta Hawks, they're not good enough to hang with the top tier teams in the East right now. So you might as well trade away players to rebuild and get some draft capital, get some new players in the building for Chicago for this rebuild. But I think one of the reasons why Zach LaVine really has been traded away from Chicago, his contract might be scaring away some teams, some contending teams that might want to add him as a second or third scoring option to it right now. Because Zach LaVine still has 3 years left on that massive $215 million contract that he signed a few years ago with the Chicago Bulls. So I think that's a reason why he's basically stuck in Chicago until a team wants to eat that money up and cap money. He's basically stuck. But those are the 4 following players I do believe that could be traded away this NBA season before the NBA trade deadline. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.